Two questions that can dramatically change your prayer life. This is Father Mark. Last week we talked about the first question, which is where we're going to pray. And this week we're going to talk about when we pray. And last week we talked about three things that govern how is it that we find a perfect place for us to pray. What's most consistent, where are we least distracted, and where are we most receptive? And if those three things govern where we're going to pray, then those three things are going to govern when we pray. You want to ask yourself the same things. Perhaps you're a morning person. You love waking up in the morning, but perhaps it's hard to be consistent because the rhythm of life with your kids or your family or work, even though you might be most disposed to pray in the morning, you want to ask yourself what's most consistent, and you want to open up the possibilities. For some of us, lunchtime at work is the most consistent time. For some of us, it's right when you get back from work, or maybe it's late at night. Maybe for some of us it is early in the morning, whether you are a morning person or not, but before the day gets started and distractions have the potential to be introduced in our life, perhaps that's the best time for you. But you want to evaluate different times during the day when you can pray and ask yourself what's going to be the most consistent. And of course, you want to ask, when are you least distracted? Before I went to the seminary, I was working in Washington, D.C., and I would pray every day at lunch. It was a great time for me to pray. It was the most consistent thing for me to do. However, I often found myself struggling with distractions there, whether it be distractions from outside noise or whether it be distractions from my phone, or whether it was just a time of day where my mind was racing because I was at work all morning. You also want to pay attention to what time of the day do you feel least distracted. If the quiet of the morning is the best time, that's great. But if that's when the kids are going to romp in your room and distract you, then you want to pay attention to that also. And then finally, you want to ask yourself, when are you most receptive? Perhaps for some of us it is early in the morning, but if you're struggling to wake up, you're not going to really be receptive. Or for somebody like me, maybe nighttime is the most quiet time of the day, but you just find yourself a little less receptive because you're more drowsy. Whatever it is, you want to ask yourself about your disposition and when are you going to be most apt to really hear the Lord and receive from Him. Where we pray is important, but when we pray is also guided by those three things of consistency as well as distractions and receptivity. We promise you that we talk to you about what to do when we pray, and that's where we're headed next. We're going to give some practical things that you can do once you actually find yourself in the form of prayer. Until we see you as we talk about what to do when we pray, be patient with yourself and let the Lord guide you in these early laps around the track. Until we see you, God bless.